I'm going to show you a bunch of simple well designs that you can make yourself and or take inspiration from, and none of these require any amount of chiseling. Our first section of wells here are going to be tiny, mini, small wells. So I used a forge here to be the base. I used ladders on the side to kind of be the posting for it. And then I used a thatch roof ridge and thatch roof ridge ends to be like the awning part of the roofing part of the tiny wells. And this is basically the same design, but just showing different roofings. We got shingle roof here. We got the pine roof, redwood roof. I love redwood for stuff. Redwood is awesome. Got some slate roofing here. Slate roof has like a different shape to it. And then we got layer 6. I'm not too fond of this one, but it could probably work. Purple heart roof. Oh yeah, no, this section's a little different. So instead of a forge, I went with a wooden barrel for a more wooden kind of well look. To be honest, I don't think these necessarily look like wells, these first ones, but they could definitely be used, I think, as like a good decorational thing. Then over here we got bamboo roof. These are all using basically the same concept. You got the normal middle roof ridge piece and then roof edge end pieces. Over here is a slightly different one because we got copper roofing, and instead of a forge or a barrel, we're using a copper hopper. So if you want a more metallic kind of look at it, this doesn't even look like a well. I don't know what this would be, but it's something. Moving on, we got what I'm going to call the 2x2 wells. Now, if you like really need a well to fit this size and you're not using chiseling, I couldn't think of any other way to do this, so I got the stone fences and I just put them along like this. Because of them being a 2x2, I can't really like put a fence in the, like they have to kind of be diagonal like this, and I can't put them on all 4 corners or this will happen. And due to the awkwardness of the sizing, the roofing part feels a little bit too big for this. So for a 2x2 well, I would recommend just chiseling it because I think it would look better than these. Now we're going to get into the 3x3, which are the ones that I think actually start looking like wells. So this is a 3x3 of that same concept over there of just all using dry walls. And so it's a more boxy look, but I think it can work. And then we got the 2 posts on the side, and then we got the 2 directional slanted roof. I know there's definitely a better way to call this, but I don't know what to call it. But yeah, we got thatch here. These are pretty simple, not much to say. Oh, this one's a more like A-shaped roof, so slightly different. And on this one, we have it where we have 4 posts on all the corners instead. And over here, we got another layer 6 ones. I think as a 3x3, the layer 6 works a little bit better. And then I'm using the rough hewn fences again because they're slightly skinnier than the regular fence. And I think that works better for layer 6. And then this one, I kind of like it. It's relatively simple, not too much detail. But we got a line of stairs here, of wooden stairs, and then top half slabs, and then another stairs here. And it creates a kind of more arched kind of roofing that I quite like. But then over here, we have 3x3 again, but a little bit of more rounded look. I like these ones a lot more than the boxed ones, but I do think the boxed ones have their place. So for the slightly more rounded look, we got full blocks of cobblestone, and then we got the stone fences in the corners, and it'll create this semi-rounded look. You can go similar to some of the first 3x3 over there. You can just have the 2 posts on the side. This is the same roof as the thatch roof over there. And the benefit of having these full blocks now is that we can go a little deeper and actually have like a well going down. Whereas these, it's kind of hard to make this go any deeper because then you just see holes on the outside like this. You could also keep a bucket nearby for static. You could like leave a bucket there or just leave it on the ground next to it. And it's like, oh yeah, we just have to manually, with our hand, pail in with the water and stuff. And the rest of these are same thing, but just different roof designs. So we got this one using pine roofing, and it kind of has that more arch kind of look. And then we got the red shingles, which is a more all-around roof, and it peaks upwards. Or instead, you can get rid of the peak and just make it a more rounded top. That also works. And then over here, we have kind of like a wooden well, even though that doesn't make as much sense. But I figured I'd give it a shot in the similar style to this, but I'm not too sure about it. The layer sticks make their return once again, and really nothing else to say. Moving on, we have the 4x4 wells, and these ones I think are maybe the best looking wells that look like wells. They're a bit bigger. You can put ladders going downwards. You can make them deeper than I did, of course. And then we have a hole in the middle here. You can choose to fill this in instead, like just whatever fits your fancy. And this thatch roof is an A-shaped thatch roof. A lot of these, there's only so much variance I can do with the roofing. It's more so just to show the different roofing materials and the slight different shapes and stuff. We can also put a bucket here again, like for decoration, just on the side of on the wall here. We can also put up some like tiki torch-like things, like surrounding it or near it. I think these aren't too bad of light sources to put nearby. Oh yeah, I should mention, this is light mud brick, and then this is dark mud brick. And I use conglomerate dry stone fence to go with the dark mud brick. I think those are like pretty close in color. And then similarly, the limestone dry stone fence is pretty close in color with the light mud brick. So they work very well together. And then over here, instead of wooden posts, I instead used stone fences as posts, because they can work sometimes. And this is also showing the copper metal roofing, and it does have a slightly different like shape. It's a little, instead of like an A arch shape, it's a little bit more rounded, which is interesting. And you know it's back, baby. the layer of sticks, the roofing that I actually don't care for as much with the other roofing, but it's back, baby. And then we have a just only slabs roofing here. It's all right. I honestly don't. It's here. It's an option. It might work. I don't recommend it though. And then we got the classic just stairs and upward slabs, and also a wooden bottom again. And then the last section over here is for stuff that I didn't think fit well with the other wells because they're a little bit more different. So here we have essentially what's kind of similar looking to a 2x2 well, but instead it's kind of it's like a 2x3 well technically, and then if we include the ladder part, then it includes this area. It's a little awkward, but to build this you would want to go like this. So on this edge of the block you want to space in here, put a slab out like this as well, and then kind of just cap it off like this. And then you get your squared in shaped thicker kind of well walls. But the downside to this is that when you're using fence posts or whatever, you can't like directly put them on top because they're gonna be off centered a bit. So I guess you can kind of do this, but I don't know, it kind of just looks weird. And you can have it on the side, which is an option. I think this is definitely an option to put the roofing on top there. But yeah, I don't know. I decided to go with good old reliable wooden ladder as like the posting. And then I just use slanted thatch roofing in an A shape like this. Over here is using stone slabs again, but instead we're gonna have the block in the middle be completely untouched by slabs, and then just surround that empty block with the slabs facing vertical like this. And then you would just, well, surround the corners and the fence posts and make them go up. So this is like it takes up the footprint of a 3x3 well, but makes the well part look a lot smaller. Now over here is something really cool. So we have a bucket here, and normally you can't really just have a bucket floating above here because you would have to place like a solid block for the bucket to be placed. It can't just float in air. If you get rid of that block, it just falls. And then you could do like a fence here and then put the bucket, but then you see the fence and it's pretty ugly, and like you don't really have the hole in the well anymore. So if you want to incorporate a bucket in the middle of the well and it looks like it's floating, I would use a wooden fence gate. I'm using walnut here so it blends in more with the cobblestone. Leave it closed. You can't place the bucket directly on here. We have to do something else. Then we're just going to place any block above it. Place the bucket on that block. Then break that block. It falls down on the fence gate. Then open the fence gate. And then you have a pretty low profile hole in a bucket there. And then you just add a fence post up here like the rough hewn fence. And this is probably the closest you can get without chiseling to have a little bucket on a string, rope, whatever, hanging above your well. Now you might be wondering why I don't just have the fence gate open before placing the bucket and dropping it. And that's because it will actually fall through the fence gate. Also, if you're doing this kind of arch design of roofing like this, I have to change it up so that I can have the post in the middle, or the quote-unquote rope, without it looking weird. Since I needed a solid block there, so it didn't look like this was floating too much. So I put a solid block there, and then I just put upside down stairs over here so that I can keep a little bit of the arch look, but still having the solid in the middle. Now with this one, it's the same trick with the bucket I did over there, but instead it's using a hopper instead of a fence. So this is a very particular situation where if you really want like an orange well, you could use bauxite, cobblestone, and then a hopper in the middle. And then you kind of have your little hole, but then this will also hold the bucket up. So similar to over there, you can't just directly place the bucket on here because it's just going to try and open the hopper. So you just place block above, bucket there, break the block, and bucket fall. And one last thing I wanted to show relating to this bucket trick, because I was thinking, oh, I hate to see that there's a gap between the fence post and the bucket. I wish I could have the bucket a little higher so it touches the fence. And so my thought, which might be your thought as well, is I could have like a chiseled block that is like shrunk down in the middle that like just gives a slightly more height, and then let the bucket sit on that. Well, sadly, we'll place the block there. We'll place bucket here. It just doesn't work. The bucket will, whoa, that actually never happened before. Oh my gosh. That's okay. Every time I've tested this, it like would fall off to the side and like land here or here. But regardless, I guess the point still stands. It will not stay like above here. Like it won't land on the chiseled block. So even using chiseled blocks, you can't make the bucket float where you want. But apparently you can make it float where you don't want it to float. What happens if I break this? That's still up there. Okay, wait, hold on. Like this is literally my first reaction to seeing this happen with the bucket. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if it receives an update like you standing on it, it will fall. Okay, good to know. Well, I guess if you're willing, here, wait a minute. Oh, I broke that chiseled block. Hold on. Here we have a chiseled block here again. And let's recreate that. I want to know, because I know every other time I did this, it would just fall off to the side. Yeah, like that. It would just like fall off like sand. So I guess if you're willing to really spend the time and just try and luck out getting it like stuck up there. Wait, I wonder if we can force it actually to get stuck up there. So if we surround it around like this. So this is like literally live during the recording, figuring this out. And I feel like I'm going to leave this in. So if we place this here. Oh wait, I have to have one block. So I like open so I can break this block. And we do this. Oh, it just stops there. But then when I break that, okay, no, that's not helpful. Yeah, I'm not able to reproduce it. I wonder if that was just a one-off thing or just a really unlikely, like, hard thing to reproduce. But I'm very glad I caught that on camera. The point is, if you want a floating bucket for your well, you would have to do it in one of the methods I've already shown here, but you'll sadly have to deal with a floating gap in between if you don't want to bother like chiseling a different post down here. This is basically without any chiseling. And then if you want to use chiseling to make the bucket float a little higher, that does not seem possible. But if you're willing and are already bothering with chiseling, you might as well just chisel your own bucket and or rope or whatever. So that just do that if you really want like a nice looking bucket in the middle. At that point, just do some chiseling. Well, that'll be it for this video. Let me know if you enjoyed this and if you got any inspiration from this. And also let me know if you have any ideas for wells and stuff down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. Bye!